I'd like to call to order the Town of Cicero Park Board meeting on July 10th at 5 o'clock. Can we have the roll call?
Dan Strong,
Present.
Mary Devlin,
Present.
Amy Wolf,
Present.
Clayton Bell,
Present.
Susan Sparks.
Present. Now, if we can review the agenda. Are there any corrections to the agenda?
Approve the agenda. I'm just saying it's approved. Okay. Oh, okay. Do we have to do a motion for that, for the quorum, or just declare a quorum?
Yeah, you just declare. Okay. I'd like to declare a quorum present at today's meeting. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. Also like to review the prior minutes. And I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Now I'd like to introduce Julie Smith of the J2 Design Company, and she's going to give us a presentation.
Hi there. Thank you again for having me. Again, and I think you guys know I'm Julie Smith, principal and owner of J2 Design Studio, landscape architecture and urban design studio. We've been working with you guys on the master plan for Redbridge Park. So what is on the screen and on the board right in front of me is a combination of what we have developed as what we're calling the final master plan. We came to you last park board meeting with two options, and you guys gave very good feedback, which was appreciated, and we took it and combined it kind of into one, what we're calling final master plan. No master plan's ever final, it's a living document. So I'm gonna move through this and then you guys can ask questions. So I'll start over at Jackson Street or 236 and wind around on the waterfront. The majority of that remained the same. We still have the multi-use trail that winds all the way along the lakefront past the boat launch. Marina stays the same number. We were asked on kind of the South Marina location to look at the spacing between the boat slips, which we did, and through reorganization, we were able to expand that from 30 feet between the slips to 40. So we still have the same number, the 74 boat slips, which is additional, what did we have, 60? So the additional 14. But through reorganizing them, we were able to have a more efficient layout. Again, existing fishing pier and an expanded accessible kayak canoe launch. That trail, the accessible trail, continues throughout the park. As you move up near the multi-use, or the shelter with the restrooms, concessions, and fireplace, that area and that region, we heard from you guys that you really like the multi-use plaza, the event space, and the splash pad, and that location where the pool used to be. So you can see kind of in that reddish area, we have that kind of as a focal point where there could be events, it could be weddings, we could have a food truck come up along that arch on the road, and it's connected to, it has a splash pad for kids to play in, as well as that shelter or multi-use pavilion right beside it, so it really can be an event space. And I'll come back to parking in a minute, but you can see there's also parking next to it as well, so people can park next to it. From that splash pad, we're working in the hillside and showing some tiered seating, and then there's some stairs. You can go around and have the accessible route, but then there's that connection to the playground. We had a smaller playground and a larger playground. I think everyone agreed we kind of like that larger, accessible, inclusive playground that would be that regional playground for Cicero to get people in. So we are showing a good sized playground that could have unitary surfacing and seating, and play events. It's something that, again, as we would move further, the exact equipment and things would be worked out, but we are showing a good comparable size to park districts and in communities of your size. Moving around, and not last but not least, so we have parking. We talked last time and there was a lot of discussion about parking, and we had a plan that maximized parking and a plan that added parking but not quite as much. So what we ended up with was a combination of the both. So we have the west parking lot that's still pulled off Morse Landing Drive. So we have a buffer, kind of an evergreen hedge to block from the surrounding houses from headlights. And then we can connect into the entry drive, which is still realigned here, and come into the parking lot kind of along the eastern front. We did add a little bit of parking in the southeast corner compared to last time. So between the two, we have car parking, which we add an additional 49 spaces compared to what is current. And then we also, at your request, added golf cart parking. So we have golf cart parking along the entry drive, that's why those look little, and then down at the north side of the existing parking lot. It's too small of an area for actual size cars, and you can see the labels kind of on the plan where it says golf cart parking there, and then also along the entry drive in this area. So it's really utilizing space that we're already paving creatively so that people with different modes of transportation can park there. And moving through, of course, we have the existing restrooms, and we're tying into that. We did expand the parking right beside them, accessible parking by a couple spots. The picnic area remained by just enhancing it a little bit with maybe some festoon lights. And then last time we were showing in addition to the community center, the request and discussion, we did remove that. And then throughout the park, they're not all shown, but you do see some, we assume there's picnic tables, seating, the game, we move the game area near the lakefront we're showing bocce and cornhole, as well as still kind of the bench swing. So we really want to, again, turn the focus towards the unique asset of Morse Reservoir that this park sits on, but also be able to use the park space creatively and efficiently that you guys have in front of you. And just to add with that, we have this plan, but we also have, which I handed Sarah one real quick, so you have a printed copy. Oops. But as you saw before, we took that plan and we also have a document, so you can see and refer back to it whenever you want. It has the master plan, the actual master plan, not just the physical plan view. We went over this last time, but to know you have it, here's the purpose, the goals, the background, existing site conditions, how we've went through some stakeholder engagement and gotten feedback, what program elements we talked about. Here is the final master plan we're talking about with the precedent images, not exact images, but ideas that we're getting that we went through last time as well of park features. And then cost opinion, and this has been updated accordingly based on the changes that were made. So it did go down slightly because of the building, but we're still just north in today's dollars of 10 million. And then it talks, so you have them all in a nice package. We have the alternative strategies in here, so if you want to ever look back, you can see the two we had proposed last time, the feedback we got, and then the end of the document. So with that, I would say, does anybody have any questions on the plan, thoughts? Anything that isn't quite right yet that needs to still change, or?
I know there was some discussion on that west side, additional parking along Morris Landing Drive. Is that going to be a one-way in or is that going to be accessible from both sides?
No, so we, based on the discussion last time, one was like head-in parking on it. We don't have the head-in parking. Let me zoom in a little bit here. We still have it pulled off, and these two are both two ways, in and
Okay.
out. So the idea is there's also circulation if someone wants to go through as well, and they aren't backing up on Morse Landing Drive. So yeah, and there is some that do face the neighbors, but we are showing, and we get in more detail, kind of an evergreen hedge to block the lights on both sides. And also the trail, like the 8-foot multi-use trail comes across in the front, so it's used as kind of a sidewalk as well as that trail that then connects back in. As well as like a smaller, more pedestrian level size trail, like 5 foot, that connects to the restroom and back again to that multi-use loop trail that goes around the park. And the trail, I believe it's 0.37 miles, just over a quarter of an acre. So it's nice to have a loop that come back through and connect to kind of the broader trail system in the municipality and the park, or municipality and county, not community.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
I think you did a really nice job of capturing what you heard from the last meeting, especially the comments from the town council and some of those things to incorporate. So no, I think it ended up being a really good plan, and I think you did a nice job of coming back and capturing those.
Thank you, Dan.
So I would agree completely with Dan's sentiments, and I've looked it through this several times over the last few days. And as far as I know, it captures every single thing that we wanted to go back and change or address. So I absolutely think it's a good plan and hope that we can capitalize on some of this in the future and get moving.
Great. Any other comments? That's okay.
Well, I would just like to say too, thank you for putting your trust in us and J2, and we really appreciate it. And we're here to help work through it and help grant, if there's grant funding and grant writing. I know that we just had a setback with the LWCF grant, but we definitely, if we see stuff come up, we will share it with you, and we're happy to be a partner of you guys in the future, so thank you. We really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are we ready to move on to old business? Or is there any more discussion on that? Old business. Gas tank update and pump replacement.
The only thing that I have on the gas tank update and pump right now is that everything is still on track. Seems to be a little bit of optimism that the tank will be delivered in September, and that we will just, if that happens, we'll just wait until late October or early November to start the construction process. So, but all indications are everything is good and right on track.
Great.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on that? Not, we can move on to the Berrycom update.
I'm pleased to announce that we finally have the Wi-Fi connection at the North Indoor Park Club shelter. And we can now move forward with a camera installation on that end of the park. Hope to have the cameras up and running in the next couple of weeks. And we are still working on the public Wi-Fi portion of it and doing some testing. So more to come on the public Wi-Fi side of things and how that will work. But it does work. We're just not ready to put that out there yet for everybody. But all indications are things are moving well.
How many cameras do you plan to put up?
I anticipate
Approximately.
5 to 7 additional cameras on the North Indoor Park.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to pickleball lights.
The only update that I have there is they're still working on getting their costs together and evaluating what their options are and what they might be willing to partner with. And that's really all I have for that.
Okay. Now we'll talk about a farmer's market update. Do you have anything, Jimmy? Do you have anything?
Seems like it's been a little slow the last few weeks, but we're still moving ahead and optimistic, and we're still hoping now that we're going to start getting into the time of year where we'll have fruits and vegetables and some true farmer market products coming. We're trying everything we can to get more vendors and promote things. We're going to work on doing some things on a monthly basis to have the fire department smokehouse one weekend, or have the local dance club do a thing, a presentation on, a particular Saturday. Trying to look at little ways to bring specialty events in during the market, and which will bring more people hopefully, and get people out and do things. Overall, I think it's a work in progress, and I think it's going to take time for us to build it and for it to be successful.
Katie's had some issues with vendors backing out, and she's talked about maybe having an application fee next year. Yeah.
And I'm okay with all that stuff. I truly believe that right now we still pick the best place in town to do it. The park's the best place to do it. We've got restroom facilities, we've got electrical facilities, we've got everything we need for the vendors there. And I just feel like it's the best place to do it. We'll just try to stay focused and try to keep building it. Hopefully it gets better.
Yep.
I have a question about that. So do they currently have to pay a deposit or anything to have a space? Or is it just if you show up, you show up? Or how's that work?
The vendors pay a annual fee, and it's not very much. We try to keep it really cheap this year just to get people in. And the food vendors aren't paying near what they would have to pay elsewhere, but try to just get it up and sustainable and reevaluate at the end of this year. The nonprofit organizations, we are not charging to participate with a set up a table.
But there's no sort of
Deposit.
deposit, whatever,
No.
if they just decide not to show up?
Right. And some people pay the night before they come.
Okay.
And then I think then they don't pay, and then they don't show up, and Katie's
Right.
expecting them, so,
Right.
yeah.
As are some of the customers that go there looking for a particular item that doesn't show up that day.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah.
But going forward, we may do some sort of
Yeah.
deposit or
Yeah, and I think it's,
forfeiture of something.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, in their contract, they agree to be there all of the weekends, and then they realize if they miss more than 2 events throughout the season, then they can not necessarily, they may forfeit their spot if they lose more than 2. No one wants to take those spots away right now, and nobody wants to see that happen, so we're just trying everything we can to keep it positive and keep people coming, and hope it gets better.
I know some of the vendors were setting up later too. They're supposed to be in place by a certain time, and they were getting there late, so.
We even had some discussions today about with the corn vendor, and said, hey, would you consider coming and setting up at the park on Saturdays for a farmer market? And they said, well, we'd love to, but we just don't have the people or the staff. So I know the conversation said, what if we buy 50 dozen ears of corn from you and the Friends of the Park sell it? So lots of things still trying to happen and figure out how to do that. And what that involves, but just try to keep moving.
Yep. The vendors seem really happy. They seem really pleased, so. But hopefully as summer goes on, we'll get bigger attendance.
Well, I think as we've seen in other communities, the first year is always slow, and each year it seems to grow. I remember, when Arcadia started their festivals and stuff, it started out slow, and even Noblesville, you know, Federal Hill, it was slow in the beginning, so it just
Yeah,
takes time.
yeah.
Well, and we realized that nobody wanted initially for the, what I'll say, craft vendors, and they were trying to keep it to more original homemade stuff, but I think they've quickly realized that we need some of those craft vendors and things to draw people. So now we're kind of circling back and reaching out to some of those people and trying to draw in some of those just to draw more people. So I agree 100%. I think it's just a work in progress and going to take time.
Any more discussion on that?
I have one comment.
Yeah.
I've been to every farmer's market except for 2, and I wasn't available to go to those 2, but the only thought that enters my head is that I think maybe we need to figure out ways to incentivize the townspeople to come, no matter how many vendors we have. And I'm not sure what that incentive is. It's not necessarily the quality and or the quantity maybe of the vendors, but I'm thinking something along the lines of contests for their children, things to draw them to bring their families to the events, because all of the vendors you have are really great vendors, every single one. And I purchased lots of stuff from every single one of them and used them. I mean, from the farmer couple, the mom and her son, to the craft vendors, to the food vendors. I think it's really well thought out, and everybody seems to be very happy to be there, and the vendors are very happy and very, very friendly and outgoing, seriously. And I'm just trying to think of ways for the townspeople, maybe now that graduations are over with and we're now into July and the big July 4th hoopla is over with, maybe we can find ways to convince some of the other townspeople to come. I mean, we have enough people in town to make every one of these vendors sell out every week, seriously.
Yeah.
And that would make them talk to other vendor friends they have, you know, to come as well.
Spread the
So,
word.
just an observation.
Yeah. Really good points. Do you want to move on to Kids Go Fishing Day?
I think that event went very well. I believe it started out a little slow, and it looked a little cloudy and overcast, and like it might rain any minute, but so I think that kept the kids at bay, or maybe started the morning out a little slow, but by mid-morning, we had a really good crowd, and the kids caught fish, and I think it was a very successful event, and they ate lots of hot dogs.
Had lots of volunteers to help.
Yeah, so overall, I think it was a really good event, and we'll do another one next year.
Sounds good. Okay, the July 4th Festival. What can we say?
I'm glad it's over. I couldn't be happier with the way the entire festival went, with the weather. The electrical held up well. The organization from the vendors and getting them in and out. It was a very long weekend, and the concerts were well attended. I can't, if you were there and you saw the crowds at the concerts, I thought they were very well attended. The weather, it was just hot, and there were times when I wish the heck it wasn't, but it was better than storms that we've had in years past. But overall, I think it gets better every year, and my goal is to not necessarily make the event bigger every year, but to do what we do better, and so to improve upon what we have. We're always talking about more vendors and more food trucks and more of this and more of that, and that's never been my focus. My focus is how to do what we do better. So we've got a list of things that I've got on paper, and when we meet next month with the Knights of the Morris Committee, we'll have a lengthy discussion about what went right, what went wrong, and how can we get better at what we're doing, and that's where my focus committee, they want to get bigger and better and all of that stuff. But my focus is going to remain within the parks and how we do that. But overall, I thought my staff did a wonderful job of getting ready for the event, and I thought we managed to, the weather cooperated, we finally managed to get everything done, and it all came together. And we know what we're going to do to improve the pond for next year, and how we can expand the electrical and water facilities to better accommodate things. And I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah. Friends of the Park did well. Bingo, we made $900. And parking, did I say 2,700? We made $2,700 in parking at Red Bridge.
Wow.
$10
that's
a
phenomenal.
car. So that went really well. So, yeah.
I wanted to pass along Gary Green's appreciation to the park. Some of your employees helped him get the memorial wall set up.
That was fabulous.
And the electricity and the Wi-Fi was quite helpful, so
Good.
he was most appreciative of that.
That's great.
No, it went great. Thank you guys for everything. Something for the committee that my wife and I thought was great was the kids fair that got set up this year.
The entrepreneur?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not as a critique, but I don't know that it was advertised well enough. And I think that has a lot of potential to grow. And I think that was a great attribute to the festival as a whole, to let these young entrepreneurs come out.
I didn't
So
like
think-
the location.
I didn't like the
I
location.
thought they were kind of
and
too far away.
I know that it was in the brochure, which is great, but because of the location and then it met up with the poker run,
Yep.
I don't think enough people knew. They saw more tents and thought it was just a couple extra vendors.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure my wife bought something from almost every tent just as a
Yeah.
support. So it was a great addition to the festival that we would like to see better advertised and see how we can help that.
I'll
next
communicate
year.
that. We have a meeting on Monday, so.
Yeah, but otherwise, it was great. Park staff did great. Park
Yeah,
held up
park
great.
looked great.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I think everything looked good through the parks. As you said, they did a great job. The festival, seemed to go very, very well attended, and there's no doubt that Mr. Green was very passionate about what he was doing. That was quite obvious, and, we appreciated him bringing that here also. So I know he did a lot of work to get that here, so thank you for that.
Well, thanks to the Legion too, because they sponsored
They sponsored.
the expense of that, so.
Is that something we could get back in other years, or is it?
I believe so. The Legion expressed that they'd like to do it like every other year, so that it's
Nice.
certainly a draw. But I know there were people that drove from quite a distance that had heard about the wall being there, and they had family members or someone they knew that had a family
Yeah.
member, so it was really
Really special.
pretty amazing to see how that drew a lot of people that hadn't been to Cicero. I know a couple comments were, we had no idea all this was going on, so
Yeah,
that kind of helped draw in some new people too.
great. Any other 4th of July comments? We can move on to the fence project.
We started several weeks back, and the weather just didn't cooperate, and July 4th interfered, and things like that, and baseball and softball programs, but we are 90% complete with our fence project along Stringtown Pike and the walk path. There in front of the ball fields and down the fire station. If you drive down there, you'll see we've got to cut all the posts off and put the finishing touches on it, plant some grass seed, but weather permitting, we should be in pretty good shape by tomorrow, or Monday or Tuesday at the latest next week, but I think that project has went well. We had some utility issues with utility lines and things we had to work around, and this weather's not been most cooperative, so I tried not to have the guys working on it on the 90-degree days, so. But they've been pretty remarkable, and it came along well, and we're finally about to wrap that up.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. have the 80s band on the fishing pier at Red Bridge this Sunday at 6 o'clock. Free concert, and there will also be food truck. And the street festival is coming up. It was actually going to be in Community Park due to the road construction. And that's on Saturday, August 23rd from 4 to 9. And we just had a Friends of the Park meeting last night, and plans are swirling for that already. So yeah. Starting to get sponsors for that. Reaching out to the school groups. And that's going really well. And then, of course, the Labor Day Car Show on September 1st. Have anything you want to add?
Nope.
It's all in the works.
So the only thing I'll add, and it's not an agenda item, just so everybody understands, you probably see at the bottom of the agenda the terms. So that was a new state guideline that was July 1st that we have the terms, who the members are, what board appointed them or who they were appointed by, and their terms. And that was driven, from my understanding, from that there was communities that weren't doing a good job of tracking this, and people were staying on the boards longer than they should be. So the state had asked on any boards that are appointed or any commissions that are appointed that those are included on the agendas moving forward.
Great. Does anybody have any other business they'd like to discuss? Guess we can take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Did we beat your,